This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you in part by Xero. Xero is a powerful cloud accounting software that improves efficiencies across your practice. With all client data stored on a single unified ledger, you and your clients can easily access and collaborate on the same set of books. Xero's advisor tools and automation solutions reduce time-consuming manual tasks and put data entry on autopilot. Work faster and more efficiently than ever before with Xero. Visit xero.com/accounting insiders to learn more.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. I am the host of the Accounting Insiders podcast and the publisher of Insightful Accountant. And today it is February the 27th. I've started putting the dates on it because you never know when somebody may listen to this. And so if somebody's listening to it in September and something has changed, well, we're recording on February 27th. If something happens between now and then, well, you can't blame us for the change. So there's the date mark. But my guest today is Sona Akmakjian. How'd I do?
Fantastic.
Got it. All right. And Sona is the global head of strategic accountant partnerships with Avalara. Thought you'd be in green, but I mean not green, in orange. Thought you'd be in Avalara
This is
orange.
orange. It may not come across as orange
Oh,
on
okay.
camera, but it really is, I promise.
Okay. Right. Don't want to get in trouble with the Avalara color police, right? So
No.
you're always wearing your orange. So, well, thank you so much for taking, 20 or 25 minutes or so just to have a conversation. I try to have a variety of people on this podcast, both from the vendor sponsor side, like you guys. And it's important to have input from the sponsor side because really I don't want to say all, but most of the changes or most of the ways to deal with changes come from the sponsor side of the community, right? The accounting pros have the problem, but they aren't necessarily in the position to be able to impact the change or to solve the problem. And you guys have built out an amazing product to solve what is a really big problem, right? And that's sales and use tax. Um, Before I take all of your what you're going to say, give us a little bit of your background, and then I looked on LinkedIn just to kind of see what you did, and you have been in the space for a while. You're a CPA. That's always some street cred there. So just tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Avalara.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. But first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It
Absolutely.
certainly is a privilege. I love the date stamp because a lot changes in our world. So
Yeah, I
that's a
bet.
great idea. But a little bit about me, Gary. I've been in the accounting profession for over 35 years. And I started my career as a tax auditor. I'd like to say a friendly auditor for the state of California. So I was the person that goes around and tells businesses how much money they owe. I hated being the bad person. So I
Right.
left there 5 years into it and I joined Big Four. I was at Deloitte for 7, 8 years where I was very intrigued with technology. And that's when we were building the tax automation and tax technology practice. So I was there, then decided to go deeper in technology and moved into the tax software, a mid-size accounting firm. And I joined Avalara about 5 years ago, working
Okay.
exclusively in the accounting channel.
Okay. And so Avalara is global, and your title is where was it? Global head, right? So what does that look like? So are you on airplanes all the time, or do you get to spend more time here than elsewhere? What does that look like for you?
I do spend more time in the U.S., although I will be in Europe the next 2 years visiting some accounting firms. But
Okay.
yes, I do have a global role. Avalara is very global, and we have very global clients and partner ecosystems. So what I do at Avalara is this: I help drive how we go to market with accounting firms, and
Okay.
they're a very critical part of our organization. And as your listeners know, we work with many of them, very important to our success and have been for the last 20 years.
Right. So in a nutshell, what is Avalara? I mean, I know what it is, but we may have some people on the call that go, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is.
So Avalara is a global tax compliance software company. We started 20 years ago and we started with sales taxes. So basically, we help companies automate and streamline their sales tax compliance process. And what we do is we work with accountants as well. We streamline the end-to-end process from registering to determining where they have a reporting response, calculating, filing, remitting. And over the years, Gary, we've evolved in other tax compliance areas. So, although we were born in the sales tax, now we offer services around business licenses, property taxes, 1099, and including some international global solutions from VAT calculation to reporting to cross border and also e invoicing live reporting as well. So, very
Okay.
broad.
I didn't realize that you had reached into all those other areas. I guess maybe I should be paying a little bit closer attention. So, so is there an easy way for an accounting pro to say, "Yep, my client needs Avalara," or "My firm needs Avalara"?
Over the years, tax compliance in the sales and use and indirect tax has been so complicated, and I think the complexity was even multiplied with the ruling, the Wayfair ruling.
Mhm.
Chances are, if they're selling tangible personal property, they have a tax compliance requirement. So we have become so much more important to a lot of the accountant profession because if your clients are selling in more than one location and selling a tangible personal property, you got to meet their compliance needs. And, I think that the market has also changed, and there's a big dependency on the accountant community about being more informed and being that true tax advisor and guiding companies in the right direction.
Yes, and I know several years ago, it may have been before your time, but Avalara used to host a lot of webinars, may have been more from the sales perspective, but it was a lot of webinars in which one of the key focuses was, hey, look, you buy a Mounds bar in, wherever, Denver, it's going to be taxed differently than the Almond Joy. And because of, the makeup, maybe not so in Denver, but just using that as an example. And if you buy it on, Fifth Street in Denver, it might be taxed differently than it is on 25th Street, right? Just based on all these various jurisdictions. And so it seems to me if almost anybody is selling anything, they need to have Avalara because you're
That's
going to
right.
run into problems if you don't, right?
Because it's highly complicated. It's not only complicated, it's fluid. It changes on a regular basis. The
Right.
amount of tax rate and rule changes that we administer on an annual basis, there is no way a specific company or an accountant can manage that. So that's why we're here to remove that burden and add efficiency and accuracy to your client's compliance.
Yeah. And it really becomes just a cost of doing business, right? And
Okay.
you might want to call it an insurance policy, a cost of doing business, either one, but you're preventing a lot of problems. And I can't remember the company that you guys purchased maybe 2 years ago, and I think um, they were helping. I think restaurants is kind of where they started, and they were helping restaurants ensure that they collect and also maintain the cash
That's right.
for the taxes. Um,
That was our Davo acquisition.
there we go. Yep.
Did and yes, they have a unique business model because with the smaller companies, it's so easy as you're dealing with your day-to-day cash flow to take the tax you've collected and use it for something else. And that's
Right.
exactly what Davo does, is it kind of puts it aside for the company so it doesn't become a financial burden at the time of filing and remittance.
Okay. And so, and not getting too far into product, but with if let's say I'm an accountant, got some clients, I identify, yes, we need this. When I go to in my rep at Avalara, am I buying one product? Am I buying the suite of products? Do I have access to everything? What does that look like?
So we're a subscription model. So
Okay.
if you have a customer or an accounting firm has a customer, depending on the industry and the country, the subscription varies.
Okay.
Sometimes it's the same product. Sometimes, for example, an enterprise company that's in the excise space or the lodging space or communication taxes. They have such rigid, complex requirements. We do have a separate product for them. But in the grand
Okay.
scheme of things, a lot of our clients will subscribe to our Avatax solution and the filing solution, and their jurisdictional or geographic requirements will all be in that same product.
Okay. Gotcha. And then with everything that's going on in DC right now, right, from slashing the IRS to trying to put together a budget, which, do we really believe they'll actually be able to put together a budget? How impactful is that on what you guys do?
So on the sales and use tax calculation, what's happening in Washington, D.C. today doesn't have a very broad application, but I will tell you one of the products we have is cross-border. And that product, as
Mm,
you can imagine,
yeah,
is like we have been working around the clock because things are fluid and changing on an hourly basis. We're on with Canada, we're off, we're on with Mexico, we're off. So we have been able to meet all the requirements. Sometimes we've had to roll it back because decisions were being made last minute,
hmm
but that is the product that has had the greatest implication on Avalara. So we've been on top of it, our research team, our development team, to make sure we're, making our clients whole and meeting the compliance requirements.
Yeah, and it seems like it's like what's at least kind of what you hear kind of anecdotally from my side. It's that okay, we're gonna, the tariffs go into effect tomorrow. And it's like, what? You can't start tomorrow. This impacts a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Yes, it does. It does.
And
And we have our clients, which are typically even the larger clients, looking at us and saying, Avalara, are you ready? Oops, we're rolling back. Are you ready?
yeah,
So we really had to be on our game and make sure we're meeting the requirements there.
right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until we started talking, but I can only imagine it's got the people pulling the hair out. Um, so from our audience, as we've talked about, are, tax and accounting pros. And I always like to say, not, and this isn't in a rude way, but why should they care about what Avalara does?
So, companies have a compliance need. Right. And it's, as we said, extremely complicated. They should care about Avalara because we relieve the pain and the compliance burden for the clients. And as accountants and as a trusted advisor, you have an obligation to your clients as well. So we're here to support you in ensuring the clients are are complying with the regulatory and compliance requirements. And as I said earlier, this community is very important to Avalara, and we work with this community in a number of different ways. Our go-to-market with the accountant profession is in three forms. One is referral. You have a client, they have a need. We'll work with you in selling a subscription to our products. If the accounting firm is really interested in diving and learning about how to implement our solutions, we will train them, we will certify them so they not only refer their client, but they build a revenue stream around making sure the client is activated and implemented with the solution. We also have a suite of solutions that we license directly to service providers or accountants where they can serve their clients using it. For example, they provide 1099 services. They don't need to refer their client to us. They can they can subscribe to our solutions so they become the service provider. So we have a very agile approach to partnership and a partnership program that really makes Avalara fun to work with.
Okay, that's great. What about your sales force? I mean, every show I go to, there's people in orange everywhere. What does that look like? Do I have like a dedicated person that I work with if I'm an accounting firm?
So an accounting firm, if they're in our partner program, we have a tiered partner program. And think of it like an airline system, right? So the partners that are regularly working with us, they will have a dedicated strategic alliance manager, and that person is the go-to person for anything that they need. Clearly, the alliance manager is not the one selling to their clients, but
Hmm.
the people that would make the appropriate introductions. So once they're in our partner program, they will have a go-to person.
Gotcha. Okay. Trying to think, anything else so I think we really hit on kind of the key benefits of why, people would want to work with Avalara or need to work with Avalara. To me, it's almost more of a need than a want. And you just touched on it. I didn't think about this before, but you just did touch on there are some revenue opportunities associated with it. Now, I don't think anybody's, buying beach houses off of the revenue associated, but maybe they are. I don't know. But it's a tool that helps them do their job better, be more effective advisors for their clients. Do you find that as firms start reaching across state lines and serving clients that aren't in their local market, do you find there's even a greater need? Because I'm not familiar. I don't know what the rules and regs are in Missouri, right? I'm in Georgia. What do I know about Missouri?
It's so hard to be siloed these days, right? With the internet, and even during COVID, people started selling not only cross state lines but cross country lines,
Yeah.
right? And it's so difficult to have, unless you have your client is an individual service provider in a specific jurisdiction. It's really hard to limit them to one state. So we find a lot of accounting firms are servicing clients that are across different state lines
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
even international. Very
Right.
possible.
Do so if somebody wants to get connected with Avalara, we can just kind of start wrapping it up here. Um, how do they find you guys? What events will you be at? You probably
So
you can't list all 800 of them, but
we are,
they're
we
everywhere.
have a very big marketing
Uh,
department, and
yep.
we are in a lot of events, across different sizes, right? So we're at SAP, Oracle, and global events, but we're also at Scaling New Heights, at
Yep.
Engage, and a lot of the smaller ones. So if you're at an event, you probably see the orange people. Feel free to stop by and talk to them. We also have a lot of web-based webinars, which are all on our websites as well. We have a number of those. We also have a lot of great collateral. For example, we have our 2025 Avalara Tax Changes Report, and this is like our poster deliverable and collateral, where we go into a lot of depth about what's happening in the world of sales tax and indirect taxes, by industry, by jurisdiction. So if you have not seen that, please pay attention to it. It's a wealth of information and available at no charge.
Yeah, and I believe if we haven't advertised that for you guys yet, I would think that we are because we're doing some things with Avalara currently. And it's called the 2025 Tax Changes Report from Avalara. So if somebody searches that, they could probably find it. We'll also have a link. Once we get that, we'll have that link down in the show notes as well. And I don't know if you've seen, and we didn't talk about this in the green room, but so years ago, probably, gosh, 8 or 10 years ago, we started a series called Sales Tax Tuesday. And our editor pretty much I think he did it every week. He, did a little bit of research, worked with some Avalara people and researched, okay, if I'm using my example earlier, if I'm in Denver and what happens, what are all the different districts and things that I have to worry about. So each week he went virtually to a different city and did that. It was well received, and we're actually doing something similar again right now. It's once a month. And he's doing kind of a road trip across America and in these different cities. So you need to look that up. But we'll get the link to this
Great
tax
idea.
changes. Yeah, we'll get the links to that tax changes report into that series as well. So people will be able to find that on Insightful Accountant too. Anything that we missed?
And if anyone wants to reach out to Avalara, we do
Yes.
have accountants with an S at avalara.com. We monitor that email, and feel free to, with any questions, comments, thoughts, send an email to accountants at avalara.com as well.
That sounds great. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you. We had not met before, so probably bump into you at a trade show somewhere very soon, since I guess
Yes.
after tax season. So,
Thank you for having
all right.
us.
Thank you, Sona. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.